I took care of his mother for years while he worked late. One day I found her whimpering. He brings strange women here when you're not home. When I confronted him, he laughed and said, "You're just convenient." I packed her things, took her with me, and filed for custody of our son and the house. The court summons came as he slept in another woman's arms. When he woke up to empty rooms, he screamed my name because I've been married to the same man, Kyle, for 16 years. We live in York, Pennsylvania. It's a quiet town. Not too big, not too small. The kind of place where people still wave to each other from their porches. I used to love it here. I used to love my life. Now, I'm starting over. Let me tell you what happened. It didn't happen overnight. It built up for years. Like rust on a pipe you don't notice until it breaks. Kyle and I met when I was 23. He was a few years older. Smooth talker. Funny. Could make you feel like you were the only person in the room. He sold cars back then and he was good at it. Too good. He always had an answer. Always had a smile. I thought it meant he was confident. I didn't know it just meant he was a liar. We got married fast. I was pregnant 6 months in. Liam was born the next spring. He was my whole world. Still is. I stopped working after he was born. Kyle said he wanted me to stay home, raise our son, not worry about money. I agreed. It made sense at the time. When Liam was 5, Kyle's mom, Dolores, had a fall. She couldn't live alone anymore. He didn't want to put her in a home. Said it was cold and heartless. I agreed with that too. I liked Dolores. She was a tough woman, sharp as a tack, even though her body was giving out. Parkinson's. Some memory loss. She could still talk, still read, but needed help with everything else. Dressing, eating, walking. So, I became her caretaker. Full-time. I didn't complain. I loved her. She was kind to me when my own mother wasn't. She called me her daughter. I cooked her meals, kept her on her meds, cleaned up after her when she had accidents. I bathed her when she couldn't stand. I sat by her bed when the shaking kept her awake. Kyle? He just came and went. Always working late. Always on his phone. At first I believed him. Sales work is long hours. Stressful. He was the breadwinner. I made excuses. Told myself I was lucky. Told myself this was just what life looked like when you've been married a long time. But things started adding up. The way he'd come home clean, like freshly showered. The faint smell of perfume I didn't use. The way his phone never left his hand. The sudden conferences out of town. The weird hotel points showing up on our joint credit card. One time I got in his car to go pick up groceries and noticed the seat was adjusted like someone shorter than him had driven it. I asked questions. He'd laugh. Say I was being emotional. Said I should get a hobby, make some friends, stop acting paranoid. He twisted everything. I stayed quiet. For too long. Then one night, everything changed. It was a Thursday in October. Cold and rainy. I'd just gotten Dolores to bed. She had a bad night, shaky, anxious, kept asking where Kyle was. I didn't have the energy to lie anymore, so I just said, "He's working late." She stared at me. Then she started crying. She didn't sob. She whimpered. Quiet and sad like a scared child. Then she said, "Dana, he brings women here. When you're gone." I froze. I asked her what she meant. She said, "He thinks I don't notice. But I do. He laughs with them. Loud. He kisses them. They go in your room. I hear them." My hands went numb. I sat on her bed and just stared at the wall. She reached for my hand and said, "I didn't want to tell you, but you deserve better." I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, after I dropped Liam off at school, I sat Kyle down. Dolores was napping. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just asked, "Are you cheating on me?" He smirked. Not a nervous smirk. A smug one. Like he'd been waiting for this. He said, "So what if I am?" I asked him why. His answer? "Because you're just convenient, Dana. You do everything. I don't have to try. You clean. You cook. You wipe my mother's ass. Why would I leave? I felt like someone punched me in the chest. I couldn't breathe. I didn't say anything else. Just nodded and walked out of the room. That was the last time I looked at him the same. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I started planning. I called a lawyer. I told him everything. He listened. Asked me if I had any proof. I said, my mother-in-law. He said that was enough to get started. Over the next few weeks, I set things in motion. I got a new bank account. I switched my direct deposit. I found a small apartment across town that allowed sublets. I kept things quiet. I waited for Kyle to go on one of his weekend business trips. He left Saturday morning. Said he'd be gone till Monday. That night, I packed everything. Every single thing. All of Liam's clothes, toys, books, school supplies. Dolores's meds, walker, chair, her old photos. I took every plate, every towel, every blanket I bought. The kitchen tools. The coffee pot. I even took the batteries out of the remotes. I left the cheap TV. The broken recliner he refused to replace. The old mattress he never helped flip. I left him the shell he deserved. On the kitchen table, I left two things: the divorce papers and the court summons. I signed everything. Requested full custody of Liam. Requested the house. Half was mine. And Dolores agreed to sign a statement supporting me staying in it. Said Kyle wasn't fit to care for either of us. When he got back Sunday night, I was watching from my car. Parked across the street. Lights off. Dolores and Liam were with me. He pulled into the driveway with some woman in the car. Blonde. Young. Laughing. He walked inside. Not even 20 seconds later, he came storming back out. Alone. He was screaming my name into the street. Donna, where the hell are you? He turned in circles like a wild animal. I drove away. Didn't say a word. I watched him shrink in the rearview mirror. I knew he'd get the court summons Monday morning. I knew he'd find out the house was under motion for freeze until the hearing. I knew he'd wake up and realize he lost everything. But I wasn't done. He thought I was just convenient. Now he was about to find out how inconvenient I could be. After I left that night, I stayed quiet. I didn't answer his calls. Didn't respond to his texts. He called from different numbers. He emailed. Sent voicemails. They started out angry. Full of cursing, threats, blaming me. You think you can take my son and my house, Dana? You've lost your mind. This is kidnapping. I'll call the cops. You've always been ungrateful. I gave you everything. Then, when I didn't bite, the tone changed. Dana, please. Let's just talk. I miss you. Liam needs his father. Don't do this to us. We can work it out. But I'd already heard the truth from his own mouth. I was just convenient. There was nothing to talk about. The court hearing was set for 3 weeks later. I moved in with a friend from high school, Amber. She had a finished basement with 2 bedrooms and a little kitchenette. She let me stay as long as I needed. Dolores got the bigger room. Liam stayed in mine most nights, curled up next to me. He didn't understand what was happening, not fully, but he knew Daddy wasn't around. I didn't lie to him, but I didn't trash Kyle either. I just said, we need some space. The day after Kyle got served, he showed up at Amber's place. I was outside getting groceries from my car when I saw his truck turn the corner. I froze. He pulled up, rolled down the window, and shouted across the street, Dana, we need to talk. I'm not doing this with lawyers. Amber came outside and told him to leave. She stood on her porch with her arms crossed like she was ready to fight. He cursed at her, called her a nosy bitch. I told him if he didn't leave, I'd call the cops. He peeled off, tires squealing. That night, he texted me a photo of Liam's empty bedroom. Said, this doesn't feel like home without you. Come back. Please. I didn't reply. A few days later, I got a call from Liam's school. Kyle had shown up there without warning, trying to pick him up early. The office said Liam looked uncomfortable. Said Kyle kept saying, your mom's being crazy. She's turning you against me. Thankfully, the school already had the court documents I'd provided. They refused to release Liam. Called me immediately. I went straight there, and by the time I arrived, Kyle was gone. That same night, I filed for an emergency temporary custody order. The court granted it. Kyle was furious. Left a voicemail screaming, "You made me look like a damn criminal." I forwarded the message to my lawyer. The stress was eating me alive, but Dolores kept me steady. She'd sit with me at night, holding my hand while her fingers shook. "You're doing the right thing," she'd whisper. "He's not the man I raised. I don't know who he is anymore." A week before the hearing, Kyle made a big show on social media. He posted photos of Liam, captioned with things like, "Miss my boy. Hope the courts do the right thing." People who didn't know the truth started messaging me. His coworkers, old friends, even some of his family. "Why'd you leave like that? Did you really take his mother away too? He's hurting." I ignored them all. But then I got a call that nearly broke me. It was Dolores's doctor. She'd missed a checkup. I had been so focused on court, I hadn't noticed. We rushed in that afternoon. Her blood pressure was off. She'd lost weight. He pulled me aside and said, "She needs stability. Stress isn't helping." I felt like the worst person in the world. I dragged her out of her home, put her in a cramped basement with crying nights and court dates. But when I told her what the doctor said, she just smiled. "I feel safer here," she said. "Even if it's small, it's peace." That house was poison. 3 days before the hearing, Kyle filed his own motion. He was fighting for full custody of Liam. He claimed I was unstable, said I ran off, kept his son from him, and manipulated his mother while she was sick. He even tried to say Dolores wasn't in her right mind, that I had pressured her to lie. I couldn't believe it. He was turning on the one person who loved him most. But I wasn't scared, because I had her testimony. I had witness statements. Amber, the school counselor, even one of Kyle's old coworkers, who messaged me privately and said, "I've seen the women he brought around. If you need me to testify, I will." The day before court, Kyle showed up again. This time at Amber's work. He waited in the parking lot, followed her to her car, told her to pass a message. He said, "Tell Dana she better be careful. Things could get messy." Amber filed a police report. I gave it to my lawyer. Kyle was digging his own grave. But the most shocking part hadn't even happened yet. Because on the day of the hearing, just as we were heading into the courtroom, Dolores stopped me. Her eyes were sharp. "Steady. I want to testify," she said. "Mom," I whispered. "You don't have to." "I do. He needs to hear it." And that's when I knew Kyle was about to hear something that would wreck him more than anything I could ever say. We walked into the courtroom, quiet but steady. My lawyer, Dolores, and me. Liam stayed home with Amber. He didn't need to see his parents tear each other apart. Kyle was already inside, wearing a gray suit he hadn't ironed right. He looked like he hadn't slept. His lawyer was some young guy with slick back hair, the kind who probably only knew Kyle's version of the story. When Kyle saw Dolores walk in beside me, using her walker, he froze. His whole face changed. Like he hadn't expected her to come at all, let alone with me. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, but then looked down. We were sworn in. They started with me. I told the truth. Calm. Clear. I told the judge I had no intention of keeping Liam from his father forever. That I left to protect myself, Dolores, and our son after Kyle admitted to cheating and called me just convenient. I told them I'd been his mother's caretaker for 5 years unpaid. That I managed the house. That Kyle was never home. Then it was his turn. He spun lies fast. Said I was controlling. Said I turned his mother against him. Said I was unstable, depressed, probably having some kind of breakdown. Said I coached Dolores to say things she didn't understand. That's when my lawyer asked if Dolores would like to speak. She stood up. Slowly. Shaky. The bailiff helped her to the front. She didn't sit. She gripped the edge of the witness stand like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Her voice was soft but strong. "I may shake. I may forget things sometimes. But I know what I've seen. My son is not a victim. He is not a husband. He is not a father. Not really. Kyle's mouth fell open. She went on. I begged him to spend time with Liam. He said he was too tired. I told him I needed help. He told me to be quiet. When Dana wasn't home, I saw other women in her kitchen, drinking wine like it was their place. I heard them in her bedroom. I know what sex sounds like. I'm not stupid. He treated this woman, she pointed to me, like furniture. And now he's angry the couch walked away. People in the gallery shifted. Kyle's lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. Then Dolores said something I didn't expect. I made a will. I left everything to Dana and Liam. My son doesn't get a dime. He doesn't deserve one. Kyle lost it. He slammed his hand on the table and yelled, "You're siding with her over your own son?" The judge banged the gavel and warned him once. Kyle sat back, seething. The judge ruled that day for temporary full custody to remain with me until a final decision in a few months. He also froze joint accounts and scheduled a second hearing to determine asset division, including the house. Kyle stormed out of the courtroom. We walked out slowly. Dolores didn't say much on the ride home. Just held my hand. I thought things would calm down. They didn't. 2 days later, Amber's car tires were slashed outside her house. Then I started getting hang-up calls at 2 a.m. We couldn't prove it was Kyle, but we all knew. And then, another twist. A woman messaged me on Facebook. Her name was Renee. She said she didn't know I existed until recently. She'd been seeing Kyle for nearly a year. He told her he was divorced. Said I was a psycho who ran off with our kid. She said, "I just found out I'm pregnant." I stared at the message for a long time. My hands were shaking. I messaged her back and asked if she'd be willing to talk. She said yes. We met at a diner the next day. She looked young, mid-20s, nervous. Pregnant, definitely. "I don't want him in my life," she said. "He lied about everything. I just wanted to warn you. I don't know what kind of man I've been sleeping next to." She gave me screenshots. Texts from Kyle. One where he bragged about me folding like a house of cards. Another saying Dolores was senile and barely remembers what day it is. I sent them straight to my lawyer. He said, "This changes everything." But it wasn't over yet. Because that weekend, Kyle showed up at Liam's soccer practice. He wasn't supposed to. The coach knew. But Kyle parked far away, stood behind the bleachers. Liam saw him. Froze. Didn't run to him. Just looked at me, scared. Kyle waved. Tried to smile. That night, I filed for a protective order. The court granted it temporarily. And that's when Kyle finally snapped. He broke into the house. Not Amber's, our old house. The one that was still in legal limbo. I got a call from the neighbor, who said they saw lights on after midnight. The police caught him inside, drunk, yelling, "This is my house. Mine." They arrested him, charged with trespassing and violation of court orders. I thought that would be the end. But I was wrong. Because Kyle's pride couldn't take it. And what he did next would change everything. After the break-in, everything escalated. Kyle spent one night in jail, got out the next morning on bond. But now he was boiling. He'd lost control. He wasn't used to consequences. He'd always gotten away with lying, cheating, and twisting things to make himself look better. Now, his ex-girlfriend was pregnant. He was banned from his son's soccer games, and his own mother had turned against him in court. He wasn't just angry, he was humiliated. I knew he wouldn't give up quietly. That same week, the final hearing for divorce and full custody was scheduled. I was ready. I had screenshots, voice messages, witness statements, and even a court-filed report from Renee, the pregnant girlfriend. She ended up going to the police after Kyle showed up at her job one night, begging her to stay quiet and take care of it. She told the judge everything. My lawyer also submitted financial records. I found out Kyle had emptied nearly $20,000 from a private account I didn't even know he had. He wasn't saving for Liam's future, like he claimed. He was spending it on hotel rooms, expensive dinners, and jewelry for women who barely remembered his name. Dolores wrote a full statement for the court. She didn't come in person this time. Her health had taken a dip. But her words were strong and cut deep. I raised my son to be a man. He chose to become a stranger. Dana is my family. Liam is my joy. Kyle made his choices, and now he must live with them. The judge read that out loud in court. I watched Kyle's face as he heard it. His jaw twitched. His eyes got red. But he stayed quiet. Then came the final blows. The judge ruled, I got full legal and physical custody of Liam. Kyle was granted supervised visitation once a month at a facility until he could pass a 6-month drug and alcohol screen and attend a parenting course. I kept the house. 100%. Kyle was ordered to vacate it officially within 2 weeks. Dolores was to remain in my care under legal protection from Kyle. He was ordered to pay child support, backdated to the day I left. He was also fined for violating the protective order and would face additional hearings for the break-in. When the judge finished, Kyle stood up. I want to appeal. The judge didn't blink. You're welcome to. But I'd advise you to get your life in order first. And that was it. I walked out of that courtroom free. But the revenge didn't stop there. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Renee. She told me Kyle had been arrested again for trying to bribe her into disappearing before her due date. He offered her cash to go away. When she refused, he showed up at her house. Her brother called the cops. He was charged with harassment and witness tampering. His employer, yes, the one he was working late for all those years, fired him. They said he was damaging the company's reputation. But here's the part that made it all worth it. Dolores's will came through. Everything she had, her savings, her half of her husband's pension, her jewelry, even the little cottage her sister left her in the Poconos, she left to me and Liam. Kyle wasn't even mentioned in the will. He tried to contest it. Didn't work. The lawyer Dolores used had her video record her statement before she got sick. She said, and I quote, "He had a good wife, a beautiful son, a family, and he threw it away like trash. Trash doesn't get rewarded." I moved Liam and Dolores into the Poconos cottage a month later. The house in York? I sold it, took the money and opened a special needs trust in Dolores's name, so she'd always be taken care of. She cried when I told her. She said no one ever made her feel safe before like I did. As for Kyle, the last I heard, he was living in a 1-bedroom apartment over a liquor store. No job. No money. 2 custody battles now. And a baby on the way that he may never be allowed to meet. He still tries sometimes. Emails me now and then. One said, "You took everything." No, I didn't. He threw everything away. I just made sure he couldn't come crawling back for it. I'm not proud of how long I stayed. Or how much I tolerated. But I'm proud I ended it the way I did. I didn't scream. I didn't hit back. I just waited, watched, and took everything he never deserved. And when he finally woke up and screamed my name from inside those empty rooms, he realized he was screaming into a house full of nothing. Because he had become nothing. And I was already gone.